Now, insecurity remains the biggest challenge confronting Nigeria at this time. The northwest and central regions have become killing fields as not a day goes by without cases of deadly attacks by terrorists being reported. Efforts by the military to tackle the situation has yielded little or no results as Plateau, Kaduna and Benue states came under fierce attacks by terrorists in the space of days. As Nigerians celebrated Easter, it was a bleak one for Zamfara as 4 persons were killed and others injured and displaced by terrorists. Let's talk this through by speaking with public affairs analyst Razak Olokoba, who is joining me in the studio. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. And good morning, viewers at home.
Well, we'll say happy Easter to Nigerians that are watching us and to you, but then it's not the same for others who were supposed to be, reflecting on the life and times of Jesus Christ. So what would you say about the security situation in the country? It looks like no day, no matter how sacred it appears, it's been spared.
Well, before it was a concern, but it's no longer a concern in Nigeria now. It has become a trauma. The normal thing for us is to open our newspaper these days, or the social media, and see killings. If it is not in the southeast, it will be in the south or in the north. And that is not too good for Nigeria. It looks abnormal when you don't hear any killing in any part of Nigeria. It will be as if you are under report on it, that there must be one incident or the other. And the greatest concern that we are having is if it is, we won't know whether it is deliberate or there's an omission on the side of stakeholders and the government, that the direction for solution that we are looking at is not where we should be looking at for solution. And that's the biggest concern that we have. That looking at how we got to the point we are today, since 1966 up to today, if you look at it, you will know that a day like this will come. You design a political and economic model where the only thing you do as government is to pick up money and spend it. You are not into any major production. You are not bothered about what is the population of Nigerians that are working. Because there must be a section of a percentage of your population that should be working, that your country will not go hungry. If 70% of your population as a nation is not working, you are looking for trouble. And that has been the case in Nigeria. It's been piling up. So you should know that a day like this will come. Oil money comes, we are not investing it. There are businesses countries will do. There's oil aging, there's agro, there's telecoms. All short of business, we don't delve into any of it.
Are you trying to blame this on those in authorities? Because looking at
the army of unemployed youth is responsible for our insecurity in Nigeria. That's what I'm coming to.
Right.
The army of how do we have so much unemployment in Nigeria? That's the genesis. When you are making money and the only expertise you think you have is how to spend that whole money, you divide it into 36. That's not governance. You divide all money into 36 and give governance. And the federal government is culpable in this. You don't give a firm instruction to states on guidance on how to spend money. The states spend money the way they like. And if you hand over money to people, the money, in the first instance, it is wrong for any nation to be spoon-feeding the state government. It's wrong. We'll be saying it over and over again. And you didn't stop at that. You give the state the liberty to spend this money the way they like. People engage in projects that you wonder why the people of that state kept quiet. And that's where I find ourselves today. And it is a shock that we are not also looking in that direction. I was shocked coming from a governor of a state that we need a machinery. And that's the kind of concern Nigerians are having, that our guys in government, why are they behaving like this? We all know that the moment you realize that a group of people is taking over your nation, what you do is to give your people a semblance of empowerment, security empowerment, in terms of like a new layer of security. If the state had been responsible for securing its own state, we will get to this point. But why we take Aminu to Enugu, you take Kolade to Zamfara, you think it's going to work? Let me quickly correct the impression that we are not saying that the Nigerian police the civil defense, our army. I'm not saying they don't know what they are doing, but they are too sophisticated to be able to go to the level that we say they should go to. As I was asking a pilot to drive a tricycle. Are you saying that the pilot is not knowledgeable enough to drive anything? But we are saying that it can work. In essence, at this moment, the government should work out a model where each state must begin to empower its own people. Look at how Amatekun was frustrated. And you think we are getting it right? We are not getting it right. Whoever that is against opening up a platform for Nigeria to secure them, they are one of the people responsible for our problem today. If El-Rufai is committed to securing his own state, mobilize 1 million of your youth. Empower them. The unorganized will be at the mercy of the organized. It's a fact. These guys are organized. The thing to do is to organize Nigeria into security sectors too. It can't be the role of the army all the time. Army are not built out to do all this kind of thing we're asking them to do. And the police at state levels, the federal police at the state level, they are too sophisticated. The training they got, it's not what they're asking them to do. Someone is fighting, husband is fighting, you call federal police. One person is fighting, you call federal police. We are demystifying them. That's not their role. And that is why all these terrorists in Kaduna. In fact, there are states in Kaduna that is a Fulani against Fulani. Last Benue, the people that Rosuka in Benue, they are Fulani and Fulani. To me, Benue is Fulani and the indigenous. What about Kaduna? I mean, what I'm saying is that if you don't apply correct method to your challenging, it will never go. This problem will be there forever if we adopt this method. I look at the money we are spending on buying vehicles all the time. It's not because there were insufficient bullets and guns in the hand of our police that led to this. No. We have been mislanding our situation right from time. You create unemployment deliberately or unconsciously for the youth. When you have state government there, and you take everything over from the state government, employment creation, and then you give state money without attaching a serious commitment from the state, taking commitment from the state that this is how this money should be spent, because you are the one handing over the money. The liberty on how to spend it recklessly should not be there for them. It's not enough to put EFCs in place. It's not enough to put, in the first instance, Dari has been given pardon. Why must you allow your money to be stolen in the first places and then to be thinking of how to pardon them again? So these are issues that if we are serious as a nation, we must not pretend about the solution. The solution is not about, it's not about buying more guns and bullets. Nigeria must be empowered.
One, it is very imperative for the government to ensure that there is enough employment to go around. Instead of having...
There can never be enough employment if it's about the federal government that is handling over everything. Devolve power to state to generate employment.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is that you blamed it on the fact that a lot of people are not engaged when it comes to having jobs or something that keeps them busy.
It's natural.
We also know that some of these, do I say terrorists or bandits, some of these criminals, they also blame them, they blame it on the fact that they're not Nigerians. They came in through porous borders. Would you want to also say unemployment is responsible?
These are speculation that may be difficult to believe. These are speculation. The North border has been porous for the beginning of time in Nigeria. Why the sudden attack? So, and insecurity, we all know you don't have to be an SSS in Nigeria. You don't have to be an army in Nigeria. You have become a security expert in Nigeria today because of the challenge you have. You have read about security. You all know that if you don't address small security challenge, it will grow big. And that is the reason why we've gotten to this point. There are small challenges that we have in the past. In the North, there's those clashes between Christians and Muslims that you see killings. We didn't nip it in the bud. We didn't address it. It kept growing bigger. And people felt to say, oh, this is a free day for us. And the instant criminals proceed from smaller issue and get to bigger issue, the solution becomes so big that you wonder whether you can even solve it. So when it started, there is ugly head. There are brothers in the east now, in the south and in the southwest now. We tell our northern brothers, I see, there's a Yoruba in Kutonu too. But because of that Yoruba affinity, there's that demarcation that you are coming to another country.
Yeah.
It is important that ethnic affiliations, you must define it. When it comes to nationhood, when it comes to sovereignty, you must define it. You will not define, and that's what got to this point. So I don't want to believe any theory that one Mr. President wanted to use them for election. Are they the one that cast the vote for us? So all these theories are permutations to create a scapegoat for our people in government. Don't let us go to that direction. It's an excuse. Do your role, play your duty as the chief security officer of the Federation, Mr. President, and the governors. The governor must find time to explain to Buhari that what is your fear about creating a new layer, a necessary layer of security in Nigeria? What's your fear about state police?
Is it about
What's your fear about local police?
Is it a prerogative of the federal government to create state police, or
you can look? You can see the body language of the president, particularly what Malami. You can see the body language of the federal government as espoused by Malami on state police. Repeated rejection that it's not possible. And if you saddle Nigerian police, the army, with the responsibility of this kind of cleansing, it won't work. It can't work. It's not been working. It's as if, once you say that, it's as if we are posting a proposal before a federal government that will crash their government, that will create a problem
let's try to understand it very clearly. You know, I'm not sure whether it's the prerogative of the federal government to, whether they like it or not. The House, the National Assembly, should review the Constitution to, amend the Constitution and ensure that this is entrenched in our Constitution.
When I say federal government, I'm not talking about the only executives. I'm also talking about the Parliament. I'm also talking about the judiciary.
Right.
All of them are responsible. And the way things are going, I wonder at what point we realize that we are shooting ourselves in the leg. And our nation is being taken over gradually by criminals.
Yeah.
It's going gradually. It will get to a point where we will not need the service of the Nigerian police again, where we will not need the service of our army again. It's going to get to that point. We warned that we are going to get to this point. Yeah. And we'll get to a point where anywhere you want to travel to now, instead of going to police station, we'll go and meet the bandits. Yeah. It's going to come to that point. We're going to come to a point where, at the point, if you want to travel by night bus, it is mandated for you to have 5,000 in your pocket. In fact, people who do all-agent service in the night will also warn, please make sure you have money in your pocket. So when we meet time on the road, you will not, they will not mishandle you.
Exchange your life for it.
It got to criminality will have a life of its own. Once you allow you to rear its ugly head, it's going to fester. It's going to fester until they become an institution. They are an institution already. And if care is not taken, there will be no need for government again at a point. It's not the cause.
We don't pray to get to that level.
It's not about what God has not done for Muhammad and Christ. He can't do it for Nigerians. Go to anywhere in Israel today. Intellectual service all over the world. People selling medication, allied. One of the countries that is good in selling their expertise in defense and security is Israel. It's a religious country. If you go to Saudi Auto, they don't joke with security. They don't put everything in the knock of God. God has explained to all of us as faithful that this is my role, though. As a people, this is your role. What we are talking about is human role, not a spiritual role. Now, the human role is that if we don't take these things serious, the institutions we're talking over by bandits. In the north already, there's a low-scale war going on. There's no household in the north today. Go and do the census that don't have their own guns. Either illegal or illegal, they have their own gun. What kind of country are we running? And you are still talking about mercenary? You are still saying buy more guns and bullets for the police. And instead of us to look at how do you go out of it? There's no solution to it than to look at how the people can also give them a semblance, a level of security. Arm the people, not illegitimately. State police, local police. Right. That's a way of arming the people. That's a civil defense.
Okay, not the one that a member of the lawmaker says that he should.
I'm not talking about JTF.
No. That people should be allowed to carry guns. Is that what you also subscribe to?
If there's a license, if you are qualified to carry a gun, we also get to that point. There's no kind of gun, but we don't see with criminals in Nigeria today. But you as an individual, there's a limit to the gun you can carry. And it is not good for Nigerians. What we are saying is that, what is the fear? Is it for the love of the people that you are doing that? Or for the love of yourself? It's not for the love of the people. If it is for the love of the people, Republican says that if criminals come to your house, there must be funeral on both sides. Funeral on the side of the attacker and the resident. And that argument, we have to begin to push it in Nigeria too, that
meaning that you have to stand and defend yourself.
And defend yourself.
In whatever way you can, as long as it's in
by any means necessary. Why is it that the government is not running away from that? And so we must begin to hold the government responsible for that. Is there anything out of what is there any benefit you are getting from this? Getting people killed? The trade issue is a trauma for us. It's a national trauma. Many people have not been able to get out of it up to today. The ordeal that our people go to, and that is because that is in the media. The other level of attacks that is not in the media. The Southwest appears to be the safest in terms of insecurity. The other level of insecurity that is going on. There's no day you open your social media that you don't hear of an attempt of kidnapping for spiritual purpose. So the entire country is engulfed.
Let's x-ray the data released by the Nigeria Security Tracker. It says at least 2,968 people were killed, while 1,484 were abducted in Nigeria from January to March 2022.
That's huge. And
that more people were killed in the Northwest region than in other regions of the country. This is a chilling
data. That is huge. And you see, we must not get to the point where killings will not mean anything to us again. I pray we don't get to that point. And we are driving towards that already. If you see where bottles, people are fighting and they break bottles before 20, 25 years ago, and you see blood, that terrain, that part, you may not pass it for another 2 years because of seeing the sight of blood only. But today, I don't think it has any meaning to us again. Seeing blood, reading about people killing each other and all sorts of things. And the humanity in us must not be reworked as a Nigeria to understand that this kind of thing will not mean anything against. It's huge. That is huge. This is not good for us. And that's why we are saying that we must, as a people, begin to hold our government responsible for what is happening to us. They are responsible for it. It's not guns, it's not bullet again. First and foremost, we must realize that there is no country that will undergo an economic depression that will not undergo a corresponding moral depression. It's a moral issue now. And what do you get to that immorality? The moral is because of the economic depression that we have suffered. You cannot have this kind of unemployment in Nigeria, and you don't expect this kind of thing to happen. Let's
try to compare, the level of safety in different parts of this country. The United States travel advisory, to their citizens, do not go to certain states in the northeast, northwest, and so on and so forth. But then the south is not really part of it. Talk about the southwest. But in the southeast, according to that data, 181 people were killed during the period under review, that's January to March. While in southwest, 127 people were killed. In the south region, 85 people were killed. So where would you adjudge to be relatively safe in this country?
Of course, southwest is relatively safe. So let's know one thing for a fact. All over the world, there's a global insecurity. But maybe because of the particular ideology that has engulfed the world today, the ideology is ideology of violence. Instead of resolving issues with discourse, with intellectual engagement, what people do is, how many numbers of guns do we have? If you have higher, that means you have won this argument. I concede to you. And that is having a global effect on the rest of the world. When we're growing up, it's about discourse, it's about what did you know, what knowledge do you have, the books you have read and things like that. But today, no. You must belong to one fraternity, one court group. You must belong to one militant group. If you see ordinary cat pusher and a conductor fighting today, what you do is you start making calls for their gangs to come and assist them in the fight. That's not too good for us. So we have to recognize that. And it is not an excuse to say that the entire world is engulfed in insecurity, the ideology in the world. You now lift your country to be driven into it. We have to resist it. Countries of the world resist it. This ideology is being resisted by the Chinese people. It's being resisted by the Indian people. It's being resisted in the Arab nations all over. So African countries seems to be in disarray. There's no part of Africa that is not witnessing this kind of thing. So while we are talking about the immediate solution is continue to buy guns, equip our police, but the end result of that is not far-fetched. The bigger picture is, how do we go to is what I've said in my intro, that there's a need to, the political and economic model of this country must be arranged in such a way that the state must be empowered to create employment for people. The way the state is being structured today is indulging. There's no how the state will function properly in this manner. Ordinary electricity, the federal government must have a say to it. Train service, you must have a train to it. Even ordinary drainage, there's a federal government drainage in Nigeria. So all these kind of things is not how to run a nation, and that nation will prosper.
Okay, for instance,
there's a need for a restructured Nigeria. Yeah. That is the summary of what you are saying.
Let's assume that our security agencies are really on top of the situation, but then
they're doing their best.
Yeah, look at.
Except we are not being fair to them. The police are doing their best. Army boys are doing their best. But like I said, when you ask a pilot to come and drive a tricycle, and that's a picture on ground.
Right. So I wish we could continue to talk about this issue, because it's something that is really, really affecting Nigerians. But then we cannot but then continue to talk about it until we find a lasting solution. Thank you very kindly, Public Affairs Analyst Razak Olokoba.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.